here. Well, fantastic gardening weather. The weather conditions, the soil is quite moist at the moment, so it's super for planting, and plants are absolutely responding brilliantly to the sunshine. So many of the hydrangeas and roses and calla lilies are coming into flower at the moment. I was chatting to Pat about some of the hydrangea varieties that you can plant at this time of year to give you some instant colour. This one, this small one here, this white blushed pink variety is one called Runaway Bride. It's a new variety of hydrangea. Lovely colours, very, very easy to grow, and it'll flower from now right through till the end of November. Brilliant in a pot or container or planted out into the garden soil. So it's a nice new variety, Runaway Bride. It's well named as well. And here I've got hydrangea Deep Purple Dance, which has got those lovely purple shades of colour, which again is lovely in pots and containers or out in the garden soil, and varieties in pink and blue as well. And how about this variety of hydrangea? This is a tabletop hydrangea, so you can literally sit it on a patio table or on a table out of doors, or you leave it on the ground if you wish, and it gives fantastic colour, but it's miniature in height, so it only grows about a foot or 18 inches in height, so a lovely variety. The other plants we mentioned this morning were the calla lilies. So this is one called Odessa, which has got lovely, they're nearly black flowers, purpley black flowers right through to the end of the summer, and it's got nice speckled foliage. And Zandicia Odessa comes back flowering every year reliably. It's a really nice plant. It also comes in a variety called Picasso, which is white with black or purple colourings in it as well, which is quite nice. And of course lavender, summer wouldn't be anything about lavender, so these can be planted this time of year. Lavender is just coming into flower and will flower again through to November for you, so you should plant those now in pots, containers, or out in the garden soil, and the bees absolutely love the lavender. So it's a really good time to plant colour in your garden. You've plenty of questions in.
Okay, so the first one that comes in is: slugs are attacking my courgette plants on my allotment and my beetroot in my polytunnel. How can I get rid of them humanely? From Caroline.
Hi Caroline. Well, to get rid of slugs humanely and to get rid of them at the same time can be a bit difficult. But what I would recommend, there's two things you can do. First of all, you can use an organic slug pellet. So there's one made by Neerdorf, or there's one made by Areza by Westland. It's called Areza. It's in a purple container. It's a blue pellet, but it's organic. So it contains ferrous phosphate, which is a natural occurring mineral in the soil. But once slugs eat it, they actually die away. But the good news is that the slug pellet is organic in nature. It's safe for pets, for dogs and cats. It's also safe for children, and it's safe for the environment as well. So that's probably the one to use, Areza or the Neerdorf blue pellet. Little and often is my advice, so a small amount on a regular basis. You'll find that in the dry weather that we're having at the moment, the slugs tend to come out at night time only, so they're not as destructive as when we get the wet weather. So try the organic pellets. They're available in all garden centres at the moment or online. The other treatment you can use is beer traps. So it's simply a cup filled with beer. Any type of beer will suit. You sink it into the soil, and the slugs come over to that and actually drown themselves in the liquid. So you can use the beer traps if you want. It's a great traditional way of controlling slugs, or the organic slug pellets. Areza or Neerdorf are two that I'd highly recommend. They'll have the organic symbol stamped on the front of the pack.
So this one comes in from Tommy on social. So he has two questions for you today. So the first one is: we've a bay tree in a pot at the front door, and it looks like something has eaten the leaves, and now all the leaves have started falling off it. The second one at the other side of the door is fine and no similar issue. How can we save these? And then the second question, I'll come back to the second question. You can go for that one first.
So Tom, with the bay trees, it's a couple of things could be happening here. So the first thing, if the damage on the leaf is U-shaped notches, so kind of C-shaped notches, that the leaf has been munched, as it were, you've got some vine weevil, adult vine weevil attacking, particularly at night time. They come out at night time and they munch the leaves and destroy them. So if it's that, then it distinctive kind of U-shaped notches eating out of the side of the leaves, then you use a treatment called Bug Clear Ultra It's sold in a red box. You'll actually see the little vine weevil on the pack, and you simply apply that onto the foliage of the boxwood, of the box plant, and onto the soil, and that'll help to eradicate it. So any pests will be controlled with the Bug Clear Ultra, be it aphids, which can also attack green or bay trees at this time of year. The other thing I'd recommend with both plants is to give them a good feed, because bay trees need feeding at this time of year, so put on a liquid fertilizer. Something like the Osmo Universal Feed is very, very effective. Apply that every 2 weeks at this time of year, and that'll encourage some new growth to help replace that damaged wood at the moment. So try the Bug Clear Ultra. You should find that very effective. As I say, it'll cover a whole spectrum of different pests, but my guess is you've got vine weevil attacking the actual leaves of the plants. They can actually attack the roots of the plants as well, and the Bug Clear Ultra will control that for you.
Okay, so the second question is it too late to cut a laurel hedge? I cut it in April and it's now flying along again. I'm trying to get the bottom to fill out, so is it okay to cut back the top again by 9 to 12 inches?
Absolutely, Tom, and this is actually a great time of year for cutting hedges in general, because you do two things really. First of all, you're going to encourage the hedge to be fuller and bushier by cutting the tops off it, and secondly, you're taking some of the vigour out of the laurel hedge, so it won't be growing as vigorously for the rest of the summer. So 100% go out today or tomorrow or over the weekend, trim back the laurel hedge. You can take up to a foot off the top, trim the sides as well, and ultimately you want to have the hedge slightly wedge shape, so wider at the base than on top. So when you're cutting, cut at a slight slant, so leave it wider at the base than on top. The other thing I would do, Tommy, is to give them a feed as well. So once you trim the laurel hedge back, give it a small application of granulated tree and shrub fertilizer, and that'll help to encourage new growth, and it'll help it to fill in those gappy areas. But by all means, cut it back by a foot, trim the sides by 6 inches, give it a feed, and it'll be in great condition within a month.
Okay, so Karen Rain wants to know, do you have any tips on getting rid of Japanese knotweed?
The dreaded Japanese knotweed. Well, first of all, a couple of things with Japanese knotweed. The first thing is never dig it, never cut it, because it propagates itself by vegetative methods. So it spreads by pieces falling on the ground or people digging it up and removing the soil to another location. That spreads Japanese knotweed. This is a good time of year actually to start controlling Japanese knotweed, and the treatment I would use is SBK brushwood killer. So you'll get that in your local garden centre. It's sold in a box. You mix it in water, add a little bit of washing up liquid to the mix, and apply it to the foliage of the Japanese knotweed. Now, it is persistent. You will have to repeat that treatment maybe 6 weeks from now again, and particularly next year. So Japanese knotweed can take up to 4 or 5 years to eradicate from a garden space. So regular application of the SBK brushwood killer, or you could use the weed-free weed killer as well, which is a liquid weed killer. Again, you mix it in a washing can or a sprayer, a little bit of washing up liquid into the mix, and apply it just onto the Japanese knotweed, onto the foliage and stems, and that will help to eradicate it. But by no means cut it or move pieces of the stem or try to dig it up, because you're only going to spread the plant. So regular use of the weed-free or regular use of the SBK brushwood killer is the only way to control it.
Okay, so Mark has a problem with a weed that won't go away. He believes it's called Scotch. He's tried a few of the commercial weed killers, but it's relentless. Any help welcome.
Okay. So we're really into the controlling of weeds, and this is the time of year, I suppose, to get on top of them. The particular weed he's talking about is Scotch or Scotch grass. It's a variety of wild grass. It often grows in lawns. It'll often grow in through shrub beds and borders. So depending on where it is growing, if it's in a lawn area, there's very little you can do, because Scotch is a variety of grass and it just blends in with your lawn. Regular mowing, regular feeding will certainly reduce it if it's in your lawn area, because it dislikes being cut back on a regular basis. So keeping your lawn mowed every 4 to 5 days and keeping it restricted exhausts the Scotch after a period. If it's growing through shrub beds or borders or in an open area where you can apply a weed killer without spraying any other of your beneficial plants, then the treatment to use is weed-free again, the one that I mentioned for the Japanese knotweed. That's very effective on controlling Scotch. So mix it in water, follow the directions, apply it on a dry day. A little bit of washing it up liquid into the mix as well is a good idea because it sticks it onto the stem of the weed. And the good thing about the weed free is that it doesn't contaminate the soil. So once it touches the soil, it becomes neutralized. So a nice dry day, mix it on your watering can or a sprayer, apply it just onto the Scotch grass leaves, and that will kill it in about 7 or 8 days. If it's in the lawn, regular mowing, regular feeding will help to reduce it and control it.
Okay, so Tom in Carlow wants to know, what are the best plants to plant at this time of year?
Great question, Tom. Well, some of the plants that I actually brought into studio would be ideal. The calla lilies are brilliant and they come in a whole range of different colours and they'll flower right through to the end of the summer. You've got the lovely lavenders in a range of different colours. Roses are great to plant at this time of year. Varieties, this is a lovely blue rose called Rhapsody in Blue. You won't smell it from there, but there's an absolutely beautiful smell of this particular plant. And roses in general, it's a great time to plant them in your gardens because you can see the colour and you can smell the rose in the garden centre before you buy it. Hydrangeas are excellent as well. There's a whole range of different varieties. Things like geraniums are great to plant at this time of year. And there's lots of great summer bedding as well if you want a bit of instant colour. So my advice really is pop down to your local garden centre. They'll help you to pick plants that will give great colour. Here's another one. This is a beautiful variety of fuchsia called Bella Soila. It's a two-tone variety. It's dark red and purple, but fuchsias again will flower through to the end of the summer. So my advice really is pop into your local garden centre. The soil conditions are perfect for planting at the moment, and remember that most of these plants will flower up until late autumn, early winter, so you have plenty of time to plant and plenty of time to get colour from them.
Okay, so Kay Nolan wants to know how to get rid of horsetail.
So more weeds. Kay, horsetail, believe it or not, horsetail goes back to the dinosaur times, so it's prehistoric. So it's one of these plants, it's full of silica, which is, it actually makes a great tea, believe it or not. And if you make tea from horsetail, they say it's very good for your nails and your hair because it's full of this material called silica. And that's why it's tough to kill. Now, depending where it's growing, so as you know, it grows about 1 foot to 15 inches in height. If it's growing in shrub borders and beds, really my advice is to plant plants that are going to smother it. So put in plants that are going to grow kind of 2 feet or maybe 3 feet high that will actually smother the mare's tail. If you can spray it without damaging any of your plants around, the treatment to use is a treatment called Dicophar. So Dicophar. Dicophar. We normally use it as a weed killer for lawns, but it's very effective at controlling mare's tail or horse's tail. But you must be able to apply it just onto the foliage of the mare's tail. And again, a day like today, a dry day, is an ideal time to do it. You simply mix the Dicophar in a sprayer and water and apply it onto the foliage of the mare's tail. It'll kill it within 24 hours. You'll see it dying back, and you will have to repeat. Some of the mare's tail may come back up again within a month or 6 weeks, and you reapply again, and you'll eventually exhaust it. But it's a bit like Japanese knotweed. It's one you have to persevere with and keep applying the Dicophar to control it. Or what I generally do in shrub borders and beds is plant plants that will actually smother it out because it doesn't like competition. So if you put in larger plants like Hypericum hidcote or some of the bigger plants, they'll actually help to smother the mare's tail. But the Dicophar you'll find very effective if you can apply it just onto the mare's tail or the horsetail foliage.
So the final question is from Katrina. So how to stop birds from eating strawberry plants?
Poor old birds. So, Katrina, well, the best way the most effective way to do it is to get anti-bird netting. So again, if you pop into your local garden centre, they'll have special netting that you can place over the top of the strawberry plants at this time of the year whilst they're green. Once they go red, the birds are going to get at them straight away. So put on the netting. You can actually leave the anti-bird netting on the plants permanently until you pick all the fruit because it will let light and moisture through to the actual developing fruit. So my advice really is to get a little bit of anti-bird netting, put it on sticks to keep it up off the plants so the birds can't poke through it, and that'll keep them out and keep them away from your strawberries, and pick them on a regular basis. Maybe leave a few for the birds at the end of the season. And remember, this is the time of year to feed strawberries as well. Start feeding them now to build up extra flowers and extra fruit for the rest of the summer. So that's it. Thanks for all your questions. Remember, I'm back here with Pat again in 2 weeks' time. Bye for now.